Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Liverpool. Hope you guys enjoyed the little bit of break that we got from football, the winter break. I know I enjoyed it, having a week off from doing these episodes. But during that winter break, we had Storm Ciara in the UK. We also had Storm Dennis this weekend, but it was the Liverpool Storm which rolled through Carrow Road and Norwich this Saturday night, and it was the return of Sadio Mane. He's been out for a couple of weeks since he got injured a couple of weeks ago. I think he's been doing some rehab in Spain, I think it was. But it was the return of Sadio Mane. Obviously, the winter break gave him that little bit of extra time that he needed to regain his fitness and come back into the team. And we definitely benefited from that. Mane with a fantastic goal, a fantastic touch, turn and finish past Tim Krul, which gave us the victory. Definitely hard fought. We hadn't performed the best throughout the game, and this is something that I will kind of touch on in this episode. But the thing around the winter break, I think the reason why it was really good, and I think it will be really good for all the teams, is to reset on fatigue, and also, you know, like in Liverpool's case here, like giving players like Sadio Mane the opportunity to have that extra week of recovery without games, which means we get to see the best players playing more football, which is exactly what we want as a Premier League and as fans and everything. However, I think the one thing that it does, I guess, prevent or hinder is momentum. So, you know, before this winter break, we were on this roll, you know, bar that kind of Shrewsbury game. We were really on a roll. We had that kind of momentum going that once you kind of are in and you get going, it's very, very difficult to stop us. And I think that's something that we definitely didn't have in this game. But hopefully it's something that we can then pick back up over the coming weeks and then really become that kind of steamroller that we were over Christmas and through January as well. Another point about the winter break before we specifically go into this game, but I think there'll obviously be a lot of analysis done by pundits, by journalists this weekend as to how do the teams look after the winter break. Do they look more refreshed? Are we getting more goals? Are less players getting injured? And I think that's actually probably a little bit short-sighted. I actually think we're going to see the benefits of this winter break, not right now, but in kind of 4 to 6 weeks onwards. I think it's going to take that amount of time for the players to almost kind of ramp up a little bit to get back up to their kind of full strength and pace they were running at before. So I actually think that I think the winter break is a great thing, but I think we will see the benefits of that in the coming weeks, not just this week. But Liverpool were definitely very lethargic in this game. I think that purely is just down to the lack of momentum between games. Obviously, the players went away for a week and then came back and then trained for the second week. So the squad have still been together for the second week, working together, exactly like they were before. However, in the game, we definitely appeared a bit more lethargic. We didn't really have the same zip about us, and definitely in the first half, we seemed kind of very much off the boil. We were passing the ball, but we weren't kind of doing two things. We weren't really passing the ball quick enough to cause Norwich any problems. You know, they were kind of pretty compact in their shape, and we weren't really passing the ball quick enough to really exploit that or kind of cause any gaps. The other thing was we didn't really test Tim Krul at all. And obviously the former that I just mentioned there about passing the ball quickly would have helped for us to test Tim Krul a little more. But we just didn't really have that kind of that cutting edge in the final third. Like Firmino looked like he was kind of up for it at the beginning of the game. He had a couple of nice flicks and tricks, which is always great to see. That's one thing I really, really want. You know, Firmino is, I think, our most skillful player. I know on FIFA the only actual 5-star skilled player in the Liverpool team is Mo Salah. I tend to disagree and think that award should go to Bobby Firmino in our team. I think some of the scoops and flicks and turns he does are just amazing, and if they come off, they just look so good. There was one particular in the first half where he did kind of like a scoop turn and played the ball into Wijnaldum, which was really good. Wijnaldum was a player I think that looked kind of just a bit, I guess he kind of just, the game seemed to just pass him by a bit. I know he came off in the second half when we made those couple of substitutions when Fabinho came on in to play that number 6 role, and then Henderson moved forward a bit. And then also that was a time which Mane came on. But yeah, I think Wijnaldum, I don't know, maybe it was just momentum or something, but he just didn't seem like the same player that, you know, we've come to love at Liverpool, and you know, you can really rely on him for performances. So didn't really get that from Gini Wijnaldum, but you know, no problem. Obviously, no harm done in this game. Obviously, the Champions League game up on the week will be another very, very difficult test for us. However, in the first half, I think for us, as much as we were, as I said, a bit lethargic and not necessarily causing too many problems to Norwich, I actually thought they played really, really well. If you compare it back to the first game of the season when we played them at home, once they conceded that first goal, they kind of crumbled a bit, and we were able to go in at halftime 4-0 up. Whereas this time, obviously they didn't concede, which helped them a lot, but they were kind of very confident in their shape, and they were not really moved out of their shape. Mainly that's probably down to us not moving the ball quick enough, but they defended really, really well, and they obviously had the really, really good shots where they actually had a ball over the top, and I think it was Roop, I think his name is, tried to square it into Timu Pukki, but it was another fantastic save from Alisson. Alisson again just showing why, you know, he's so important to us, and why all those awards he won towards the end of last year for his outstanding performances for us and for Brazil, why he is by far the best goalkeeper in the world right now. Another clean sheet as well, just whilst we're on that point. I think it's 10 out of the last 11 now, with just the Wolves game, the exception in the Premier League, which is absolutely fantastic. You know, to go that obviously includes the December games as well, when we were rotating. We obviously went away to the Club World Cup, so that's a fantastic record. But yeah, I think Norwich in the second half, I kind of felt that they went away from what they did really well in the first half. Like they defended really well in the first half, but they weren't like sat really deep and just inviting a lot of pressure on. But I'm not sure what happened in the second half. Maybe they kind of just thought, oh, you know, they hadn't scored, maybe we'll try and nick a point, let's just defend. But I actually think that was ultimately their downfall, and then they sat too deep, and that was definitely on evidence for our goal. You know, they were sitting so deep that Jordan Henderson was able to pick the ball up like 10-15 yards into their half, and then play that ball over to Sadio Mane. And I think that, I'm not sure why they had that change of kind of attack, really, because I think what they were doing in the first half seemed to be working really, really well for them. So that was, I guess, a shame from their side. But obviously the assist came from Jordan Henderson, who I thought had another absolutely fantastic game. I've talked about him on these episodes so many times before, but he just exemplifies everything you want from not only a player but your captain. When he moved, he was really, really good in that number 6 position when he was playing there at the beginning of the game, making sure that he was giving the ball to Naby Keita and Gini Wijnaldum to then start attacks. But then when Fabinho came on and he was asked to play further forward on their right-hand side, he linked up really, really well with Trent Alexander-Arnold. His pressing was really good, and then obviously he got the assist for the Mane goal as well. And he keeps going from strength to strength, really. You haven't seen one bad performance from him. He's kind of putting in an 8 out of 10 performance every game, which is very, very difficult to do consistently. But he is showing that, one, he can do it, and two, why he is so important to our team. So that was really, really good to see. And whilst we're on that point with Jordan Henderson, obviously wish him congratulations, wish him and his partner well. They recently had a baby during the winter break. Actually, Mo Salah and his wife also had their second child in the winter break. And you know, all these things where they just work out perfectly. You know, if this was another season, you know, their child would have been born on the weekend that we had a crunch game or something like that. But this season, those things seem to just be falling into place for us, with both of them having their children in that winter break, which obviously gives them a little more time to spend with their wives and their children as well. So congratulations both to them. But Henderson for me, coming back to the game, was exemplary. Even towards the end of the game, once we had the goal and we kind of just needed to see the game out, he was the one who was pressing, winning us the ball back, and then being able to then kind of making sure the ball was getting passed around safely, and we weren't causing ourselves too many problems. So another fantastic performance from Jordan Henderson from my perspective. He was my man of the match. I know Sadio Mane came on and had a very good impact, and you could tell when Sadio Mane come on, like how much more balanced we look, particularly on the left-hand side. I think Robertson and Mane, they just complement each other the way they play, with one coming inside and then giving more space for Robertson on the outside. So that was really pretty positive to see. But yeah, Jordan Henderson gets my man of the match for this game. The shout out to Klopp, I think, for this episode, from my perspective, is around what I talked about at the beginning of this episode in terms of momentum. I think momentum is something that's really, really difficult to kind of build up and gain, but once you have it, you almost become an immovable object. However, I think one of the ways he can do it, and I think he actually did do this, which is, I think he kind of maybe realizes that is just getting everyone minutes, I think, in kind of just raising everyone's game. And I think that will mean that everyone's a bit more sharper, everyone's a bit more on it, which means that we kind of we make the right decisions at the right time, and we score the goals when we need to score the goals to give ourselves the victory. No doubt against Atletico Madrid in the week, it's going to be a tough game. It's not a game that I don't think we expect to go and win 3-4-0 or whatever. It's going to be a tight one. Obviously, Atletico Madrid have some great, fantastic players, but more importantly, they've got grit and determination that Simeone puts into his team that I don't think any other manager in the world really has that type of doggedness like he does. So obviously that would be a very, very tough game. But obviously next up in the Premier League for us, we actually have a nice bit of break after the Champions League game, where we play on Monday Night Football, week after next, against West Ham at home. Obviously West Ham again, another team in that kind of relegation battle. So they will be doing their damnedest to stay up and to fight. Obviously they're not necessarily going to be expecting any points away to us. However, they're in that position where any point, even if it's just a point, can play such a big role for them in staying up. So I am certain they will fight and they will put up a really, really tough challenge for us. Obviously we're at home and we're always a little better at home, which helps us out. But it will no doubt be a tough challenge, but one I think we will rise to. Watching Liverpool this season, even in the Norwich game, we just don't look like losing. Like, even if the other team are playing really, really well, and they got lots of men behind the ball, etc., I always just feel confident that we're going to score, and that's really just the hallmark of a great team, and all the great work that both the players, Klopp, and the backroom staff have done at Liverpool this season. So that's really, really fantastic and great to see. But I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Hope you guys enjoyed the little break as well. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll catch you on the next episode for the review of the West Ham game.